in the slipstream of Norris, coming up close and then dive down the inside and give it the full send. Lap 3, we're drag racing Vettel, sending down the outside of this corner, getting right close to Alonso and the slipstream of Vettel now, as well as we managed to get past Alonso and Vettel down the inside of the first chicane. Watch out, it isn't over. Here comes Mick Schumacher again. He managed to get crazy drive coming out of that corner. Leclerc fighting and bang, it goes straight into Leclerc. Hello everybody, welcome back to F1 22, back for another episode with my career, and not just my career, it's your guys' career too. You guys are coming along on this journey with me, so I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. If you haven't seen the previous episode, the first episode that is, I will link it down below. I'll put a pop-out banner as well. You guys can go check it out, especially if you're new to the channel. Welcome, and if you're newly subscribed, welcome. And if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing. I would very much appreciate it, and be sure to leave a like and your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this series so far. But yeah, today we have another Grand Prix to get to. We do have a couple of things to take care of before we do that, a little bit of R&D, and we do also have, I think there's a special event that we have to take care of as well, but we will get to that shortly. Before we do that though, got to address the elephant in the room. If you watched the previous episode, you might have noticed it already. Can you tell what it is? That's right, it's the color. We have changed and updated the color of our car. The livery is the same. We still got our primary sponsor on the side pods, that is Echo. We got them running on our side pods. We're sticking with them. Nothing's changed there in terms of our sponsor, but we have changed colors. We were running that black and yellow livery from the previous episode, but after that episode, you know, the more I watch T. Martin's content coming out with his a series on the F1 22 My Career and his Cooper Motors racing team, the more I sort of look like I was copying him, even though it was really coincidental that I happened to come up with a black and yellow color scheme as well. So I thought, you know what, let me just change it up, and I'll change it up to this sort of, I don't know really what sort of color you would call this. It's a fusion of green and blue and sort of, I guess aquamarine is probably, might be a way of describing it. It's very sort of close to the real life Aston Martin Formula 1 livery at the moment, but I kind of like it, and I seem to find myself very recently gravitating towards this particular color. That is the main body color that you're seeing right now, and you will see it down below in my logo as well. It's a very similar sort of color, so I hope you guys like it. I've definitely still contrasted it with the black and yellow as well, but I just want to make us stand out, be a little bit different from Team Martin and anyone else sort of doing the black and yellow theme. And yeah, so hope you guys like this. Let me know your comments down below what your thoughts are on this new color scheme, and yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our My Career dashboard. Alright, so here we are in the My Career, I call it dashboard, I don't really know what you call it, but yeah, as you guys can see, our calendar, next Grand Prix on the calendar is Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, so that'll be the Jeddah track. Bit of a, it's a very fast-paced track, not necessarily technical in its design, but definitely technical in its, when it comes to driving technique, at least in my opinion. But we'll get to that when we get to the Grand Prix. But to start off with, let's just have a quick look at our R&D. Now, if you guys remember from our previous episode, we actually put in for a bit of R&D with our chassis, if I remember correctly. And yeah, that was the central under tray, which I believe we had, it was like a 40% chance of failing, but luckily, luckily it came through developed without any issues. So I think what we're going to do next is have a look at what we want to put in for development next, going into the next Grand Prix, and then we will move on from there. So let's just have a quick look. So we have another chassis item that we can develop to do with weight distribution. So the rear floor under tray, 468 resource points, and then we have improved energy store cells. I might turn the description on for these as well. So minor weight reduction with this. So I guess these are the cells that store, your energy for your ERS, and I suppose this just means that this upgrade means that you can improve the overall lightness of it, so you can reduce the weight with much lighter materials. What else do we have? We have unknown upgrade, but we require facility spec 1. So the facilities is something that we did sort of touch on in the first episode, but by the looks of it, it is something that we have to probably complete a couple more Grand Prix before we can actually go about and upgrading those particular facilities. Let's just have a look at our powertrain. We've got spark plugs, which we can do. Then we got improved materials for a gearbox. There's no other upgrades that I can see for the durability department. What about aerodynamics? We can do overwheel winglets, so a bit of better front downforce and then rear downforce. We can go better with the beam wing. Now, considering we did work on the chassis last time, maybe what we can do is we can do multiple upgrades here, but we only have 2400 resource points to go with, so we can always do with a little bit more aerodynamics. So what we will do is, considering we don't have any front downforce parts developed yet, let's just go ahead and select one to do, and that is the overwheel winglets that is available to us. So let's just select that to start off with. The standard development time, it will be available to us after the Australian Grand Prix, so after the 8th of April, at least in game. So so let's just go with that. Cool. We've got 1860 resource points to play with, so why don't we do a little bit more as well. There's a 15% discount on the rear floor under tray, but what I think we might do is might go for the improvement for the gearbox, purely because gearbox is a fundamental part of the car. It's probably one of the parts that moves the most. Not that other components of the car don't get used to an extent as gearbox does, but the gearbox, it definitely undergoes a lot of stress. You're constantly up changing, down changing. There's a lot going on, so it's always best to have a little bit more durability when we can with the gearbox. So we'll select that as well. Again, we'll go for the standard development time. We will have this ready before the Australian Grand Prix, so that's good. We'll put we can't rush it, so we will have to stick with the standard development time, so we'll go with that. Cool. And we have 1460 resource points, so while we're at it, we might just go with spark plugs as well, so that way I feel like we've covered all the 4 departments at least once. We've developed a part from each department at least once, so we'll go with spark plugs as well. Again, 11th of April, much like our front wing winglets, front wheel winglets. And so that'll be ready after the Australian Grand Prix as well. We'll put that in for development for the spark plugs. Excellent. So let's back out of this and let's just have a quick look. So R&D in progress. We'll see our 3 parts. We have our progress history. We're straddling McLaren at the moment, so that's not too bad. And have a look at our vehicle real quick. Engine, definitely a bit of wear on it. We can tile our allocation, nothing's changed there. Corporate standing, still the same. We haven't really, our primary response is still the same with Echo. So we do have the driver perks. This is something that I've been thinking about. Maybe something worth looking into, but perhaps not yet. Maybe we'll just get a little bit more cash before we invest a bit of that into our driver perks. We'll just quickly go to our activities. 20 seconds. So I think what we need to do is, so if we go back, actually that's what I was looking for. I was trying to remember rather how we affected morale, and that's through the activities. So aero and chassis are high. We probably should now focus on something that will get our powertrain and durability morale high. So let's have a look at that. What if I autofill activities here again? Let's have a look. Again, it's adding powertrain, you know, it's adding powertrain morale, which I don't want that. I want something, nothing really that can help our chassis or durability. So, what shall we do? We'll go with power team building. Why not? We'll stick with it. We can always do with a little bit more morale. When it comes to the powertrain, you know, we need that engine to perform at its best. So we will go with that. Excellent. I'm pretty happy with that. And then we'll return to our overview and we'll advance time. There's our powertrain done. And now here we go. It's time for the Pirelli Hot Lap. So this is a event during the Grand Prix weekend by the looks of it. We'll get about 1,000, really don't know what you call those points, but we get 100k cash infusion from that as well, so that is pretty cool. A couple of things we can choose from: average speed zone, or we can choose drift, or we can skip in advance, but I feel like we should do one of these to get some extra cash. Always be helpful. Okay, so what I'm thinking is we might actually do the average speed zone Pirelli Hot Lap, purely because if you guys remember in our first look of F1 22, we actually did do a bit of drifting and we actually drove the Aston Martin DB11 V12. So we already done that event and driven that particular car, so we're just gonna do the average speed zone, where, you know, it's an event we haven't done and it is in a car we haven't driven yet, the McLaren 720S. So this is gonna be pretty exciting. Let's jump into it and see what it's about. Alright, so here we go. Average speed zone challenge in the McLaren 720S, 3 rounds. Unfortunately, my my audio failed during this particular point, so hence why I am doing a voiceover. I apologize for this. I'm really having troubles with my mic setup. I'm switching between mics. I'm just having real big problems, but hopefully I will have it all sorted out moving forward. Had some audio problems for the rest of the video, so you'll hear some voiceovers as we progress through this video. Again, I apologize for that, but we'll hopefully have it fixed. As you guys can see, our challenge target's gold is 149.67 kilometers per hour. It'll net us 1,000 points in acclaim, as well as a 100k cash infusion. So I'm pretty pumped, pretty excited for this one. Let's jump into it, see how we go. Alright, jumping into the first round, coming up to this first gate. I think basically we just have to maintain the highest possible average speed we can between this gate and there is another gate at the end of this corner. Supercars definitely don't handle as well as the, you know, Formula 1 cars do. As you can see, we just get it real squirrely with this McLaren 720S. It's very much tail happy. And one thing I did note, and I'm very excited as we cross that second gate, and what is our time, or rather speed, 153.04 kilometers per hour. Not too bad. We smashed the gold. The gold speed there already. But yeah, as I was saying, one thing I noticed about this car is that it's very tail happy, and quite honestly, especially in this corner in the Jeddah track, it's like, sort of like a mini carousel from the Nürburgring. And I think it's the second round where really coming out the exit, you can probably see I just get real sideways and you can sort of hold the drift, you know, coming out. And you do a bit of a power slide as we kiss that outside wall and kiss the inside wall as well. And across the second gate sideways, absolute lunacy with this car. And we managed to do even higher average speed there, 155.89 kilometers per hour, higher than our previous round. Yeah, so I've been thinking maybe we might do a separate video where we just drift this car around a track, because honestly I had a lot of fun. One thing with this car is you got to brake so much more earlier than you would with the Formula 1 cars. Obviously, par for the course, these are supercars and they're great as they are, but when you compare them to Formula 1 cars, they are, you know, Formula 1 cars are a whole nother level. It's absolutely crazy. And you know, across the line, finishing off that third round. And one thing also, and as you can see, we netted the gold. We absolutely smashed it. And yeah, these things, they don't shift down or shift up as quickly as Formula 1 cars do as well. So Overall though, not too bad. Had a pretty enjoyable Pirelli hot lap there with the average speed zone challenge. 55 rather, 0.89 kilometers per hour. Pretty happy with that. 1,000 acclaim points, 100k cash infusion. Let's go ahead and jump into the Grand Prix. Alright, so here we go, jumping into the Grand Prix, starting off with some one-shot qualifying. We went through the practice sessions, did all our practice programs, got all the resource points and resource boosts or department boosts, so pretty happy with there. And just going through a little bit of setup, trying to basically, I've taken a little bit of inspiration from TRL Limitless with this particular setup, where basically it's from the setup from the France Grand Prix track. So 1912 wings, basically the suspension is fully soft, trying to maximize traction as well by really dialing back the differential, just so that you don't induce that that wheel spin unknowingly, because this game has been known for very much being hard so far in its current stage, being very tricky when it comes to traction. A recent update that was released, which this gameplay is basically from, I played this after that update came out, which I think probably explains the weirdness I felt in my force feedback as well. I am running a G27 wheel, but still, it just felt a little bit weird. But the recent update has updated the actual traction mechanics, because apparently even real-life Formula 1 drivers were also saying that the traction that they experience in the game is nothing really comparable to what they have in real life, where in fact in real life it's actually a bit more easier to put down the power, and they don't actually end up losing the rear end as quickly as you would with this particular game. So coming up to basically the end of this lap, we're showing P1, but we'll have to see once we cross the line. Something that I'm very wary of is the AI difficulty, as I completely forget to hit my DRS there. Across the line, and we finish P1, our first pole position. Let's go. I'm pretty pumped, and on to the Grand Prix.
In the lower Hijaz Mountains to visit one of the newest circuits on the Formula 1 calendar. We're in Jeddah, home to what we all hope is going to be a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's the owner-driver then in pole position. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Sergio Perez and Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Fernando Alonso and Valtteri Bottas, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Esteban Ocon and Mick Schumacher, Joe, Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel, Stroll, Armstrong, Albon and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Okay, so here we go, jumping into our strategy real quick. Now again, as I was mentioning at the end of qualifying, I was very much wary of the AI difficulty. We are going with medium AI difficulty, and I was wondering is it enough? I want to make this series challenging but also enjoyable at the same time. But I don't want to necessarily be getting pole position and winning every single race. So I thought for this, just to make it a little bit more interesting, we'll go with the strategy where we start off with mediums and switch over to the hards, just to make it a little bit more tricky for us. And we'll see if it'll make it an interesting race for us, because it's definitely not the fastest strategy. Alright, so here we go. At the start, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, holding the revs, and lights out, away we go. Not the best start, got boatloads of wheel spin in second and third gear, and absolutely got swallowed by the front runners, Red Bull, Mercedes. Carlos Sainz takes off in that Ferrari. Norris muscling his way through that first chicane, and we've dropped down to P6. Absolutely an atrocious start, but again, it is what we were expecting and what we wanted. We didn't want to make this an easy race for ourselves. We wanted it to be challenging. That's why we went with this strategy. So now it's basically just chasing down Norris, trying to stay in his slipstream best we can, deploying that ERS. Again, I've switched to using ERS and DRS manually, if you guys haven't noticed. Just trying to familiarize myself with that particular mechanic of the game, and just really get better at deploying those two components effectively as possible in manual form. Trying to now just basically drag ourselves forward as much as we can, especially drag us away from Magnussen, who's chasing us down. So trying to deploy that ERS to get away from him, because he is absolutely hounding us, only 0.4 seconds behind us. And we're sort of getting closer to Norris here at the moment. You can see the delta between me and Norris is getting smaller and smaller. We're just draining the ERS in little bursts, trying not to fully deplete it as we come to the penultimate corner to round out this first lap in a moment. And if there was DRS at this point, I'm pretty sure we would have been able to catch up. But as we deploy ERS coming up the main straight, in the slipstream of Norris, coming up close, and then dive down the inside and give it the full send straight into the chicane. Managed to get that move done. Norris, I think, nibbling at our heels to try and get past us again, but managed to get that stuck. And as we fast forward to lap 2, we throw it down the inside here at the penultimate corner and banging away with Russell, but he managed to muscle his way through. Carlos Sainz setting the fastest lap as again we get into the slipstream of Russell. No ERS here, managed to dart off to the left to avoid a crash, and which didn't help because I crashed into the wall. And then going into the first chicane, I again bumped wheels with Russell and spun myself around. I was asking for it. I was being too aggressive as we lose a bunch more spots, and now we fast forward lap 3. We're drag racing Vettel, sending down the outside of this corner, and I think we get a little love tap from him, but managed to get in front of him. Absolutely crazy so far, just trying to catch up to the rest of the field as we fast forward to lap 4, catching up to this gaggle of cars: Schumacher, Leclerc, Alonso, Hamilton. Really surprising to see Leclerc and Hamilton especially at the back of the field here at the moment as we send it down the outside around Schumacher. He actually, the AI of Schumacher during this race was absolutely exceptional. Really great racing between me and the AI of Mick Schumacher as we try to chase down Leclerc now, who's chasing down Alonso. You're trying to get in the slipstream of Leclerc. And I was considering a move down this, this particular corner at this stage, but I thought I would back out. I didn't want to create another Russell incident where I just sent it down the inside at the very last moment as Alonso and Leclerc fighting, and bang, I go straight into Leclerc. Alonso and Leclerc go wide. I go straight into Leclerc at the very last moment, and Schumacher takes advantage of that as we got Vettel right behind us as well, trying to get close to us. So we're just deploying that ERS to sort of drag us away and move to the inside to cover ourselves from an attack from the Aston Martin as we get real close up to Schumacher and Leclerc. Again, drag racing Schumacher down now to this is I think fourth corner, can't quite remember. Managed to stick it out the outside, but I don't know if it was over because again we are getting close to Leclerc in lap 5 or end of lap 5. Still Schumacher behind us. He was really sticking with us throughout this entire Grand Prix as we pull in to the pits to do a changeover of wheels, and also we have a little bit of damage in the front wing if I remember correctly, so you guys will see momentarily we absolutely nail the pit button there. Our uniforms are out of this world. They look like Tron. They look like, Tron uniforms. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, pretty optimal stop. Switched over to the hard tires, and now just trying to get some heat into them and chase down Gasly as we fast forward to lap 6, and we managed to close the gap on him right down the inside, the full send at the very last corner. A bit of a lap tap from Gasly as he turned in on us a little bit, but we managed to make that move stick and just using ERS to drag ourselves out, and using a little bit of DRS as well, just dragging ourselves up the main straight, getting real close to Alonso now. I think on medium difficulty it seems like the AI tends to brake earlier, so maybe if you increase the difficulty they probably brake later and later as you increase the difficulty, as we see a gaggle of cars that are coming out of the pits, one of which is our teammate Marcus Armstrong. You guys gotta ask yourself the question, if you were the team principal in this particular situation, would you allow us to race? Because I am just chasing Armstrong down, trying to get in his slipstream, deploying ERS, absolutely depleting it, drag racing down to this carousel corner, send it down the inside again. Absolute prime spot for overtakes for me throughout this entire Grand Prix, and this track in general. That particular corner, that sort of carousel, is really great spot to do a lot of overtaking if you have really good momentum, as we get loose a little bit coming out of that sequence of corners as we get real close to Vettel now. Fast forward a little bit further up, lap 7, going down the outside, Vettel and Alonso going at it, absolute bumping wheels, argy-bargy, getting the elbows out as we deploy ERS, getting right close to Alonso and the slipstream of Vettel now, as well as we managed to get past Alonso and Vettel down the inside of the first chicane, down to second gear, trying to squeeze the throttle as softly as possible, making sure not to induce that wheel spinners. Now we just got to chase down Tsunoda through these corners, trying to get real close to him. We have pretty good pace at the moment. These hard tires, surprisingly, if you get them up to temp, they actually perform really well. Try not to be heroic here in these section of corners because I don't want to induce a crash. Bide my time, use my patience, and we managed to get past him, send it down the inside again. Very same corner, my favorite corner for overtakes. Absolutely love it. And now, just fast forward to lap 9, we're caught up to our old friend Mick Schumacher. This battle is about to get real hot. You guys absolutely watch this particular part of the Grand Prix right now, because this is actually one of the most exciting battles I have had with an AI driver, as we drag race down the inside again, same corner, but watch out, it isn't over. Here comes Mick Schumacher again. He managed to get crazy drive coming out of that corner and managed to get in front of us as we get so close to him again, down to 4th gear, 5th gear, go up to 6 now, deploy that ERS, try and get into his slipstream, coming up to the DRS line, get DRS, and we drag race, use his slipstream to slingshot ourselves around him and around the outside as we get a little bit of a love tap turning in on him for a moment there. It's absolute excitement, but again, not over. If you look over on the left hand side wing mirror for a second there, and now the right hand side wing mirror, you see there he is again, coming up our outside, slingshot in, trying to get past us, trying to use our slipstream as a slingshot, but we managed to cover our inside and stick with it. Wow, absolutely out of breath trying to commentate that, and absolutely out of breath trying to defend from him, which in the end I didn't understand why, because he pulled into the pits at the end of that lap rather. As we fast forward to lap 11, managed to dispatch Hamilton again there. It's the same guys, Magnussen, Bottas, Hamilton, they're scrapping away as Hamilton loses out in that particular battle, and now we're chasing down Magnussen and Bottas as they're scrapping away. I don't know how they made it through that turn earlier, too wide, absolute crazy, as again, trying not to make any heroic moves here, just trying to bide our time, use patience. You know, it's a one lesson that I've learned from this game so far. Be patient, not be crazy, and just bide the time and just send it down at the very correct moment, just like we did there. Love that particular corner, absolute great corner for really good overtake. And if you get good momentum out of those corners, you can deploy your ERS, use the slipstream of the car in front of you, slingshot your way straight into the inside of that corner and get that overtake done. As now we're chasing Bottas down, ERS, DRS, both enabled, getting real close to him, trying not to, you know, trying not to crash into the back of him. Again, ERS, DRS enabled as well. It's getting absolutely crazy, getting so close, reeling him in. He moves, and then we dart off to the left at the very last moment, managed to make that move, stick down the inside and out the other end of that corner. Oh, absolutely out of breath. Absolutely crazy start and crazy rest of the race as we skip to lap 13, coming around the penultimate corner. Sainz has finished, congratulations to him. Probably not the best start for us, but it's still an absolute exciting race as we cross the finish line and we finish in P7. Not too bad, probably not the best considering we started at pole, but not too bad overall. I'm pretty happy with that, and I hope you guys are happy with that. That was absolutely crazy racing, and obviously hats off to Ferrari, particularly Carlos. I know this is virtual racing, it's a video game, but really we need to see more of Carlos Sainz and you know, him getting podiums in real life. Yeah, so good on him, good on for the smooth operator, absolutely well deserved. Drove a well managed race. Wow, absolutely crazy.
They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Today, I think I'll give it to the Haas driver.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you very much, Crofty, and as you guys can see now, here are the constructors' standings, and obviously considering today's result, we've dropped down in the standings from 3rd to 4th, and driver standings also we've dropped down. I can't remember whether we were P4, I think, after the last Grand Prix, or P3, I can't quite remember, but we've fallen down in the driver's standings as well. 18 points, but again, not that big of a difference between us and Sergio Perez, who's the next driver above us. So hopefully going forward, this season will keep getting spicier, and we can try and have a bit more good battles. And George Russell is 2nd. That's pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, that is pretty much where I will leave it for today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, I apologize if the audio isn't up to par. I'm trying to figure it all out. It's a whole mess trying to make this all work at the moment. So hopefully as I progress, it'll get better. And yeah. Thanks for watching, if you stuck around for the entire video, and yeah, if you're not subscribed, do consider subscribing. If you like this sort of stuff, go ahead, hit that like button, and take care of yourselves, and I will catch you guys in the next video.